Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. Today I thought I'd pick up a topic that probably has very rarely been covered by anybody on comic YouTube. I'm sure it's been done, but I haven't found anybody who has done this yet. I want to talk to you today about a brief period in the early 90s from 1991 to 1993 that DC had an imprint called Impact Comics. Impact Comics, as I said, was an imprint that DC did when they got themselves they licensed off the characters from the Archie comics back in the day, where Archie had superheroes like the Comet, the Fly, the Shield, the Jaguar, um, and the Black Hood, for example. All of them, and of course the team that they formed called the Mighty Crusaders. That's a name that a lot of people are actually familiar with. Archie put these out back in the early '60s, under the banner of Mighty Comics, and they used their in-house Archie people on it back then. And they tried again in the early '80s under the Red Circle line, which was another Archie imprint that was used for other types of comics that weren't usually made by Archie back in the early '80s and in a brief period in the '70s and early '70s, late '60s as well. The line collapsed from DC after 2 years because of due to poor sales. It came out, and for the first little bit, people were a little nostalgic, especially people that remembered. Because you got to remember, guys like the Shield started as Private Strong at one point, and I mean these are guys that started off in the '40s at some point. But what DC had got was the 1960s versions of the '40s characters for those that like the Shield that were around back then. They got the Private Strong type character. Anyway, so basically, they did this for a little while, and then the sales collapsed on the Impact Comics. Okay, Archie did sign a new deal in 2008 for DC to re-release them. DC has not decided to exercise that option at this point and has not re-released them since. And so Archie ended up by using the 5-year clause in the contract to try and send to redo them themselves in 2012. the The reason for these are important because there are copyright issues. Now, copyright law, of course, has changed over time, and the current law is way different than the old laws. But you have to use your trademarks. Trademark law being different, you need to use your trademarks a bit more. For example, Red Circle, in order to keep them alive and keep them going. And copyright being, the works, the trademark being the thing you work under. I'm going to show you some example comics. Okay. I do have a bunch of these comics. I picked them all up in one shot, like for really cheap. And to be honest, they were fun little reads. It's obvious that they're intended for children. What I'm going to show you today is a bunch of the books from the series The Fly, because those were the ones that I came across that made me decide, let's do this. The Fly itself has an alter ego here of Jason Troy. All these books were written by Len Straczynski, and the art was done by Mark Parobeck. Sorry, Mike Parobeck. Can't read my writing again. Anyway, they were the consistent people on for the entire run of The Fly in this case. Pardon me. um, I'm going to start with issue 5 of The Fly. The cover has a character called Arachnus, and that is the character that they fight in the issue. Arachnus is dressed a bit like a spider and has the spider powers. Like he's a spider outfit, whatever, can climb walls and stuff like that. and it's got the 8 legs of the spider. It's not like Spider-Man where he's just wearing like a spider thing. He's got the actual outfit. In the cover, you can see some of the legs are sticking out where the joints are. Basically, he wins this fight no problem. It's not. The art style is very simplistic, by the way, and I think that's another reason why, like as I said, it's made for kids. It's not too detailed and things like that. The stories themselves are not that detailed. Like here, we've got the Fly. He travels to Las Vegas and he runs into somebody by the name of Blackjack. Blackjack is his friend. It helps him out, and they fight corruption and all that other stuff. Okay. Here, the Fly is stuck in the water. He ends up fighting a character by the name of Dolphus with the comet. The Dolphus is an underwater. He looks like a dolphin, only instead of fins, he's got arms and like regular appendages, similar to King Shark does in the regular DC universe. And here's the Fly 8. Again, here you see Dolphus on the Dolphus. The story continues from the last issue. Here you see Dolphus fighting out, and as you see his arms, and you see the comet on one side and on the Fly on the other. Plus, on top of it all, there's some sort of octopus creature that Dolphus is able to control, similar to Aquaman. You get number 9. This is when they start advertising that the Crusaders were coming. Now, there was an interesting thing about the Crusaders before I forget. The Crusaders in this Impact line was only an 8-issue series, and the Crusaders lose, and they lose badly. At the end, the team gets broken up, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff involved in it, but the government doesn't like what's happened. And it's actually a really interesting story. I have Crusaders 1 to 8, and it's pretty interesting to see a team actually lose. And which is why I'm surprised in a way that these stories were not your typical superhero stories in that sense. They were a little marvelly, and you know what I mean, where they had problems other than their superhero stuff, as opposed to DC, where you just concentrate on the superhero stuff for the most part. So here is the Fly 9. He's back home and there's this guy named Fireball that he has to fight. You see Fireball here on the cover. He has an interesting outfit, but certain parts of him are a little, shall we say, overemphasized. And note that the Crusaders logo is in the corner. They go, and next I'm going to show the Fly 10, where he goes up against a man by the name of General Mechanics, who has a bit of a feel of like a Doc Ock, and has quite the look to him. He actually looks a bit like an old I want to say a Chinese caricature, but I don't quite think it's more of a I'm an old villain. Here's the nasty little things. Next up, we've got the Fly 11. This is where the Fly starts having a confidence crisis about is he a good enough superhero. On top of it all, he's being his parents are seeing the Fly with him a little too, like in terms of the Fly being a little too involved in Jason Troy's life, and they don't realize that he is the Fly. So there's comments about the Fly and his motives about hanging around Jason. All those things start coming out, and again, little bits of interest they don't quite get developed, and I could see why that's why they didn't continue the series. Next up, we have the Fly 12, where the Fly has to fight against identical twins. That's why it says double trouble, because isn't that always what they say when they're identical twins? In this book, there's a cool effect you see that when the Fly takes off his mask, his actual eyes, when he's wearing the scare, I'll explain how he becomes the Fly later. But when he takes off his mask when he's in his adult form, his eyes look like flies, like they look buggy and big and kind of interesting. So the last book I'm going to show is the Fly 14. I don't have 13, so here he fights against. I don't remember the character's name, but she is she's very similar to the Sportsmaster from the Injustice Society, the one that was married to the original Huntress, where she is an absolute, like, there's a bowling ball. She wears a billiards ball outfit. She's very adept at games and sports, and so of a physical nature. So therefore, he's got his work cut out. I don't know how the fight ended because I don't have the next issue, and this did carry over into the next one. I could probably look it up, but I like to be surprised once in a while. Now, the Fly, as I said, was the alter ego of Jason Troy. His origin was simple. He was given an extra assignment for homework by his teacher, Mr. Aben, for getting caught playing video games in class. The assignment was to create a hero based on a humble creature. Jason picks a fly because there's probably not a lot more creatures more humble than the common housefly. So he draws it and patterns the hero after a fly. Jason is given a pendant made of amber with a fly inside by Mr. Aben as a reward for finishing the project. Well, it turns out that, of course, this amulet is mystical, magical, whatever you want to call it. It gives him the power to turn into the superhero he designed as the Fly. He has superhuman strength while he's the Fly. He shoots up like Captain Marvel. He becomes an adult while he's the Fly. He has 270-degree vision, so like a real fly, he can see 3/4 of the way around. And he can stick to any surface like a fly does, with his little hands or whatever. He's got the little silly eye that let flies do this. And basically, he can also fly. He has wings. So he has wings like a real fly. It is unknown during the series if this amulet only affects Jason or if anybody can use it. That was never answered. Impact Comics had a total of probably, well, you had one series make it 18 issues, and one series went 8, and the rest were 16, and there were 6 others. So they didn't go for much longer than a year. I don't even think. Well, I don't even think they made 2 years. I think a year and a half tops, from 91 to 93. I believe issue 1 of The Fly came out in dated August 91, because 5 is December 91. And as I said, the sales, based on the data I've seen, the sales were okay at the start. They came out in 91 when comics were still in a bit of a boom. They didn't oversell, though, because, as I said, this was more of a marketed for kids. A little bit of nostalgia in the sense that, hey guys, remember that fly you liked in 1962? Here it is again. Updated, of course, for 1990, but here it is again. And it didn't work very well as a result. So, DC tried, DC failed, which is a fate that a lot of comic books have over the years. I mean, the average comic book, if it makes it to 2 years, it's a surprise. Um, if you liked this content, please like, subscribe, and comment below. If you've read any of the books, if you liked any of the characters, if you hated any of the characters, I might do a separate video on the Crusaders book because I actually really like, as I said, the fact that that particular series was not an easy one for for the protagonists, and I kind of like seeing that. It's a nice change to see something different. It's kind of like seeing the Empire win and the Empire Strikes Back. You know they're not going to win in the end, but it was nice to have that little pushback, and the main heroes have to fight a little, just that much more, a little harder in order to succeed at what they're doing. Anyway, as I said, like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell if you like. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed today's topic. I certainly actually enjoyed doing the bit of research that I did because I did enjoy most of the books from this run on a superficial level. It was not something I'll necessarily fill out the runs for, but I wouldn't mind. I don't mind reading them again if whatever comes around. Anyway, my name's Matt, and I like comics, and I hope you do too.